All right, so welcome to our on-air hangout today. We're talking about sex and technology, which means hookup apps. We're going to talk about some porn and sex gadgets. It's going to be really fun. Before we get started, I'm Molly McHugh. I'm the tech editor at the Daily Dot. I'm going to be moderating this today, but in true Daily Dot fashion, we are going to do one of those really horrible, terrible, weird things where I make you introduce yourself and you have to say something really lame afterwards, since that's what we always do. I was going to go with what your first screen name was, and I'm only doing it because mine is so terrible and embarrassing that no one's can be worse. So yeah, I'm Molly. I lead the tech section at the Daily Dot, and my first screen name was QT with a Q and a T, Teaches 17, which is disgusting and horrible. So we're just going to go what I see and left to right, and that's EJ. You are next.
I'm EJ. I'm the sex tech staff writer at the Daily Dot, and my first screen name was Constipated Fish, as one word, and it had no significance whatsoever. I guess I was just 10 and thought it was funny.
Okay, so then it's Kate. Kate, you're muted.
Sorry. I'm all the way on the far right on my screen, so.
Okay,
my screen name was user. My first screen name was user James375. It was my dad's default CompuServe screen name, and he wouldn't let me change it. And I'm the reporter at Daily Dot.
So cute. Kwame, you're next.
Oh, me? That's early. I'm Kwame. I'm an editor at The Verge, and my first screen name was MegaZ21, which is really inside baseball if you're a fan of Mega Man. And yeah, it's about as far into that as I'm going to get.
Mandy.
I'm Mandy Statmiller. I'm deputy editor at exojane.com, and my first screen name was Schmandy at northwestern.edu.
Nice. That's like the least embarrassing screen name I've heard so far. Nat, go ahead.
I'm Nat. I'm an editor at The Next Web. My first screen name is actually one that my high school assigned to us based on our last name, so it's just our first letters of our last name and like the first four numbers of our school ID, so it's super lame. It was like GARO2648, so nothing embarrassing, just dumb.
I'm really regretting choosing this intro because mine is so terrible and you guys are all just very normal or great names. Nico, go ahead.
I'm so about to win this game. So my first screen name was actually my mom's screen name, so that one's not that relevant. But I will tell you the Zanga name that I had, because I had a poetry Zanga in high school because I was really emo and thought I was Sylvia Plath. I was also a fucking terrible poet. For some fucking reason, I chose Love Actually as my name, which is hilarious because I now hate Love Actually like I hate movies.
Oh, good. I like that one. Thank you, Nico, and Nico also works at the Daily Dot. He's our opinion editor. But thank you for redeeming me. I feel a lot better. Cool. So I just want to dive into it. We're going to talk a lot about, I think the biggest thing that we're going to talk about today are a lot of social apps and dating apps and hookup apps and kind of how they're changing our in real life interactions with people, especially in romantic ways. So I guess this is a really big question, but to put it to you guys, is the social stigma from online dating, is that dead? Have these apps killed it? Does anybody have any input on this? I haven't ever been a big online dater, so I feel like it's dead, and from what I hear from my friends, it seems like it's not a big deal anymore and it's kind of fun. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Does anybody have an opinion on that?
Was that like a humble brag that you don't do online dating?
No. I'm actually like jealous of online daters, to be honest with you. I see my friends using Tinder and I get really jealous because it seems like so much fun, but I just like go on there and swipe and like stalk like a crazy person. EJ and I have talked about this. We playing Tinder. Please describe EJ so I don't feel like the only person who does it.
Well, me and Molly and Kate, actually, we're all in relationships, and we write a lot about, like, hookup and dating apps, so we sort of feel, like, a little bit out of the loop. So we were talking about playing Tinder. So basically what I do, I don't know if you do this too, Molly, but I download Tinder for, like, 2 hours at a time, like, if I'm bored, if I'm, like, waiting for the train or something, and I'll just obsessively swipe, because it's so much fun. And then I just delete it because I get trolled. Like, so many, I could just get so many messages and I just have to delete it. And that's not a humble brag. Like, I think I'm so cute or anything. It's just, I mean, I think Tinder is just like, I don't know. I think people are really dissatisfied with Tinder. My impression with all my single friends is that it's really problematic for them. And I sort of see why, like, using it when I play it.
So who has gone on a Tinder date, like a successful Tinder date here? I would really like to hear a success story, because my friends, they get really excited and they have like 2 good dates and then they delete Tinder and they go on like Tinder. She said it was like a Lent for Tinder. She was going to give it up for she had to do it because it was starting to depress her. So does anybody have any personal input on how awesome or terrible it is?
I just went on a nice date with a doctor from Tinder, and I had a great conversation last night with a CEO from Israel who I really just liked on a personal level, but who's also very good looking. So, I mean, you know, but I would be fine with just friends too. It's sometimes just like a cool way actually to meet people that you would never normally meet. But yeah, it's totally addictive, and it's a blast to play at the bar with your friends who are in relationships, and then hear their kind of Woody Allen like assessment, the way that he and Diane Keaton kind of do the internal monologues of the people in Annie Hall to guess exactly what's happening in that guy's life who's posing with the zebra, or you know, the two kids that he's like offering up to the dating gods. So yeah, but I have absolutely I've hooked up with 2 guys from Tinder, and the first guy I felt kind of like gross about the whole experience, and I did just delete Tinder after that, but then I decided to give it a shot and have now been having more positive experiences.
Okay. I mean, I just feel like I have friends who be like, yeah, I'm on eHarmony, or I guess I'm going to try OkCupid. And they're so kind of like, don't tell anybody, like, this is embarrassing. But with Tinder, they're just like, yeah, check it out. I'm on Tinder. It's really awesome. Are you jealous? Like, kind of, yeah, it looks really fun. We actually had a really cool question just come in. He asked if anybody's noticed any racial bias on Tinder. Anybody? Have you?
I mean, in terms of who's actually on it that I've seen, and just being like the Lower East Side of New York, just a lot of white girls, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I like, just from my personal experience, I used to be on Tinder. I downloaded it 3 times and deleted it 3 times after that, where it'd just be like, okay, this is cool, and then no one here is going to actually find me interesting, except for the one time someone did get back to me, and that was totally a bot, and that was really awkward.
Oh yeah, that would be really uncomfortable. I've seen a couple questions about, like, do you feel like people aren't swiping on you as much as they would because of your race or anything? I don't know. Has anybody felt like that, or do you not really get that impression? Is it mostly just like there's a really set demographic and it's a lot of white people?
I mean, I don't know how much data there is in that area, but I know there have been a couple of studies that said that online dating has been an easier way for people to kind of weed out their own course as far as who they're attracted to, and that might include race. There might include a whole other host of things, but that could include.
Yeah. Okay. It is really early. It is. I think we kind of forget that it's still a new app, and we don't. I'm scared of the data that app could produce. Honestly,
I think what's crazy is that. Sorry, I did something I'm not supposed to do, which is talk over you. I apologize.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I read this morning that IAC just purchased another percentage stake in Tinder, and they also own Match.com, and Tinder is now valued at $5 billion, which kind of blows my mind.
Right. No, go ahead, EJ.
No, that's like up in the air though, right? Like they're refuting that it's worth $5 billion, but still,
Well,
I mean,
I think, I mean, that's how evaluations always work. You know, it's not like set in. It's not like you could take that to the bank and say, "Give me $5 billion now."
No, I mean even just putting the news out there that somebody thinks it could be worth $5 billion is saying a lot. So
I think it could be worth $5
anything.
billion.
You think so, Kate?
Yeah. I mean, I've never used it because I've been in a relationship, but if I was single, I would definitely use it. And I've gotten some benefits from it because my partner's best friend he lives with his parents in the suburbs, and he used to come sleep at our apartment on the weekends all the time, and we don't have a couch, so he would have to sleep on the daybed in our bedroom with us, which I wasn't that down with. And ever since he downloaded Tinder, he'll come down and he just meets up with women and he convinces them to have sleepovers. And it's like the best for me.
That's a horrible roommate. That's a horrible thing to do. But you have Tinder to thank for that, I guess. We just got a question come in from Vandy. She wants to know if her username is Tormented Sugar. And she says, "Hey girl," so I'll add that. She wants to know which dating app or site is your favorite, and is there any that you hate?
I have had the worst luck with eHarmony because I have an allergy to boring people, even if they're, you know, the Pope or Jesus Christ, or Mahatma Gandhi. I don't know. Something about eHarmony is just the people on there are so kind of vanilla. I just couldn't. Every single person that I talk to, they're probably much better people than I am, but I like fell asleep talking to them. And I would say that my favorite right now is probably Tinder because I like the speed of it, and I like how you can kind of quickly determine whether or not someone is a funny person, whether they're smart, I mean, it's like a pretty good, super fast assessment on someone, in my experience.
Yeah, I was going to ask, has anybody used, the two that come to mind when we're talking about Tinder a lot is Glint, and it's really new, but it's that Instagram-based dating app. Anybody's used that, which I think it's still, the pool's really small, or if they've used Down, which used to be Bang with Friends. God, I wish they'd been able to keep that name. I just really love the honesty. But has anyone ever, if they're willing to share, have you guys ever used one of those?
So I used Bang with Friends just because I wanted to see how it worked, but yeah, so I did it with a guy who used to be kind of my friends with benefits. And it was very funny because it then gives you a message that says, you know, "Congratulations, you have one bang." And it's just like the whole thing is kind of hilarious. But Bang with Friends I thought was interesting because it would show all these people as options to click on who were like there with their babies or their wives in their profile picture. And I don't think any of those people had signed up for Bang with Friends. It just shows everyone.
Yeah, it just takes your entire Facebook friend database, you click on them, and if they someday happen to click on you, you get this little like, "Oh yeah, go bang," which terrifies me because like, what if you clicked a bunch of people and then 5 years later they clicked you and you're just like, "No, I don't want to do this now." So I'm sorry, in 5 years, everybody I clicked on. No, I didn't do that. But
that's hilarious.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just like to see if people are using things other than Tinder. Yeah, I guess, is anybody that we're talking to right now, you guys using anything besides Tinder primarily for dating or not really?
I mean, well, I'm in a very much committed relationship, but just in terms of like things to do with my girlfriend, it's like, how about we for couples is actually pretty cool. Just in terms of like suggesting things to do when you're bored, or it's just like a Thursday night and like you're like, I have no idea what to do, and like we're a year into our relationship and we've had a lot of sex, and what do we do now? So it's actually good in terms of like making suggestions in that vein.
Yeah, How About We is blowing up. They just bought Nerve.com, right?
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, that's nuts. I've kind of tried to use that, and I always feel like I'm just browsing Groupon for couples. which
Yeah.
is fine. Like there's like use in that, but no, that's a good idea. The only other thing I was going to ask you guys is, do you think that somebody can create an app that's as fun as Tinder for monogamous couples? Because there's a couple. I think there's one called Couples. I can't remember, and then there's one called Avocado, which is I don't know, it's kind of an upsetting name. But I've looked at them, I've tried them. I think they're mostly for long distance relationships, but it doesn't seem as fun. Do you think? Have you guys tried them? And then do you think we can make something that's as cool and fun and addictive for Tinder, or is the fact that we're all coupled up and boring what kills that?
Are you talking about like a swinging app?
A swinging app?
Yeah, like an app for swingers. Is that what you're talking about?
There is one that helps you find threesomes.
Grindr.
That's it. Yeah.
Grindr. Yeah. I think that's a great idea.
No, please tell me why.
I mean, it seems like the execution of it is kind of like it's kind of being marketed in like a really sleazy way, but like that's the eternal question for like sexually adventurous couples. You know, like how are we going to find a third party if they're interested in that? So I feel like it kind of there's a market for it, you know.
But the thing is that.
No, go ahead, Mika, please.
Now I'm doing the talking over people thing.
It's okay. It's okay.
I think the thing is, though, with couples, is that couples will find a way to use all of these apps. People generally who want to have sex will do it no matter what. So couples are finding people on Tinder, they're finding people on OkCupid. And I know a particularly popular way is actually the Craigslist personals ads that you'll have like couple seeking third are really, really popular.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Craigslist is obviously not a super safe way. There's that whole Craigslist killer thing to find somebody to invite into your bedroom. But yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. Apps make things fun and easy, and I think having these really interesting user interfaces that are like welcoming and make you feel normal, not like some sleazy perv who's like typing weird shit into Craigslist. It makes it interesting and normal. So yeah, but I don't know. What about monogamous couples? Can there be an app that's fun for monogamous couples and like romantic and interesting and sexy, or is that like just like that's on you at that point?
I mean, what are you envisioning the app to do, Molly?
I don't know. I think I'm just so frustrated with what I've seen so far, like that one where you thumb kiss the screen. Have you guys seen that?
That's the worst. It's
That's
so awkward.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's really awkward. It's just no. The thing is,
okay,
when
so maybe
but the thing is, when you're in a relationship, you want to, you know, there's a reason when you put your phone away when you're at dinner. It's because you don't want to interact with each other over the phone. You want to interact with each other. So I think that the innovation doesn't come from an app. Rather, instead, I think it should come from like a gadget where you can use it together in person instead of just being away from each other. Because most of these apps seem to be designed for long-distance relationships, which makes sense. But for people who are together all the time, I think if you had a gadget that you use together, an experience together, that's a lot more meaningful than just an app that you use while you're away from each other for a couple hours at work.
In that case, then Dots is like the sexiest app I've ever used. I am challenging everybody I know on that thing, and I like love to talk to them about it and send them screenshots of my victories. So that's my new sexy app, I guess. EJ, were you going to say something?
Was I?
Yeah, sorry, did I interrupt somebody?
No, I was just laughing at your love of dots, your dots ardor.
We did get a question asking if these apps make it more difficult to meet people who aren't conventionally physically attractive, but they might have other really awesome attributes, but you know, we see the profile picture, maybe just the job title, and we swipe. Do they make us more superficial? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, there are things like gluten-free singles now. So if you're going to limit your dating life to just your dietary preferences, you know, what's not superficial about that?
That's a good point. I don't know. Do you guys think when you've used it, even EJ when you've played Tinder, and Mandy when you've like gone on dates with people on Tinder, is it pretty superficial the way you look at people, and then it's just really awesome if they turn out to be a cool person?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I find that I will look at some guys who might not be super hot, but I'll think, oh, that's my boyfriend, you know, like he would kind of be grateful and appreciate me. And then I find that I never end up wanting to go out or talk to that person. I still tend to gravitate towards the person who I feel physically attracted to. So I will confess to superficiality when it comes to Tinder.
Good. I think that's a good confession. I'm going to ask one more question on this because I think this is a really good one. And do you think dating sites, like traditional dating sites, are for people who want to like find somebody to date seriously, and that these apps are kind of just like us looking for flings and are like the new adult friend finder, but like named way better with a much better marketing and branding scheme behind them?
Well, so I sorry, I just didn't want to monopolize. I was just going to say that.
No, please.
I think that it's a total range of experiences, and that's why it's become so mainstream, honestly. I know several people I have a friend who's like a very successful comedy writer who, he's now in a relationship with someone that he met off of Tinder, and I imagine when he was first meeting her, he wasn't planning to be in a relationship, but I think that happens really frequently. I have another friend who she's in a relationship with someone that she met off of Lava Life, and she was just going to hook up. So I think that it can be really a range of experiences, and that's why people tend to be interested in it.
I was actually thinking about this earlier. It's funny. I feel like the stigma associated with like traditional online dating websites, like people aren't afraid to say we met on OkCupid anymore. Whereas when I play Tinder, pretty much like I see so many profiles that are like, oh, I'm willing to lie about how we met. Like I feel like meeting on Tinder, because of kind of what Mandy's saying, because it's supposedly people have different intentions, I feel like there is sort of still a little bit of a stigma attached to couples having met on these hookup apps, on these like newer hookup apps. I don't know if you guys like agree with that, but that's sort of the impression that I have talking to my friends who've used online dating.
That kind of sounds like the same person who would get their panties in a bunch over a racy YouTube video, though. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I feel like for people who are more comfortable with kind of, modern adaptions, I don't see that as much. But for sure, if you're more on the conservative end of the spectrum, then I'm sure that would be a witty line to toss out that, we can lie about how we met. But like I said, I've only met kind of, lovely professionals off of there. But I don't know, that might just be who I'm talking to. So.
But I mean, people, we've seen so many stories in the last few years, especially, of people who met on Facebook and have these great romances and Instagram proposals and these crazy things of how people are meeting on social media. I mean, like, I used Facebook to like look up hot guys and flirt with them in college all the time, and it was just like normal to do it. But you assign this like dating word to something, and it becomes like, oh, I don't know, don't talk about it. But I don't know. I think it's dying more and more all the time. Does that seem true to you guys?
I definitely think it's a matter of context. Like, if you're dating via Facebook, that's a level of okayness, because that implies that there's I guess, a more genuine connection with the person that you're connected to. But at the same time, like, if you hooked up with a person over LinkedIn, that would be a little weird. But
LinkedIn flirting it has to die. It's just, we gotta let it go. People still try that. It's horrible. It's a terrible idea.
What about Twitter, LinkedIn? Because I got asked out earlier today, a couple hours ago on Twitter, and that was kind of awkward.
I remember reading a story a few months ago about people who are using Twitter to like find people to have sex with. I have no thoughts or feelings on that, really. It just kind of blows my mind. I definitely use Twitter. Like, I used to use Twitter to like weirdly underhandedly flirt with people in like very like attacking ways, like just mocking them until they would talk to me because I thought they were cute, which is maybe just crazy me stuff, but I don't know. Do you guys flirt with people on Twitter, or have you?
I don't know. I only ever get really weird shit on Twitter. Like, I don't get flirted with. I'll get something like, "Oh, I had a dream about you," and I'll be like, "We've never met. You live in Wales." And it'd be like, "That's circumstantial." Or like, I just get like, I don't get asked out. I just get Twitter stalkers. So I don't know what this entire culture of Twitter flirting is like.
I'm apparently really bad at it, so I can't really help you out there.
In my experience, I've met a couple of people in real life off of Twitter, just who wanted my professional advice. And I have to say, they looked so different in person than their Twitter profile that that would be, I would think, kind of a deterrent to meeting people off of Twitter is, I think, that you know how they used to say on MySpace people would do the angles so that it's like nothing like what you look like? That's been my experience with Twitter, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's really not a whole lot of personal information unless they're mildly well known and you can look them up. Otherwise, yeah, you're probably going to do some research before you head that direction.
I just don't know why people do that, because I think that shoots them in the foot. Why would you? Although I have to say, for me, I have my Tinder profile as a pinup shot that I took, which is like the best I'll ever look, probably. But I make sure to include other pictures of like how I look every day, so they can see.
Totally.
You know, that's not what you're gonna get, dude.
Don't worry, there are no lies here. I'm being honest. Yeah. So the other thing that we wanted to talk about was not just apps to connect you to somebody to go on dates with or have sex with or flirt with. But there's this new slew of the quantified self movement isn't new. The fuel band's been around for a really long time, and now there are quantified self sex apps. There's a few, and I think the idea behind them is that you want to see if you're having sex correctly and well. But I took my fuel band off after like 2 weeks because it was itching my wrist. So I don't think I'm like a good candidate for this because I will use it twice, get really excited, and then be that person that's like, I'm never going to use this again. And not to throw you in the fire here, EJ, but you wrote a really awesome story about Nipple, this new app to help you quantify your sex life, and you liked it.
I loved it.
You still use it?
No, I don't still use it. I mean, I don't think that an app like Nipple, which is made up by like a very politically incorrect Italian guy, I don't think an app like Nipple serves any practical function. Like the whole idea of tracking your sex life to make sure you're having sex right, whatever that means, seems gross to me. But I mean, the idea, like, as humans, we like to categorize, we like to list, we like to, you know, keep track of, you know, the people we've slept with. I did it in high school with my hookups. I had this whole list with ratings and stuff. And I think that apps, God, that makes me sound so slutty, but that's fine. I think that apps like that sort of appeal to that baser part of us, you know, that is still in high school and still gets a kick out of listing partners and sexual acts and things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that per se. I think it's super fun.
Yeah, I mean, has anybody else tried? I think there's a couple others, and I wish I could name them off. Oh, Spreadsheets is one, and I think that's the one where you put it on your bed, and it like measures how much your bed is moving and how long. And is that right, EJ?
Yeah, it's super technical.
Okay. Have you guys tried? Is it just not? Have we not gotten into quantified self-sex apps too much yet?
I haven't done it.
I've never tried it, but my friend has an idea that he thinks is going to be a big success, and he might kill me for talking about it here, but he's probably not watching. And he wants to make basically something that you wear during sex, that, like a fuel band that automatically tallies how far your dick goes, I guess. Like,
no.
How many miles. Yeah.
What about Google Glass during sex then? Isn't that like the ultimate quantified self-sex app? Because I mean, like, eventually couldn't it like measure your pulse and like a whole slew of crap about your body during sex, and you would have the visual afterwards? But Nico, didn't we bring in a story about like if you're wearing Google Glass, there's no way we can have sex?
Oh, we didn't bring out in that story. I wrote that story.
Oh, you were. Oh, awesome. Even better.
Yeah, I think Google Glass might be literally the most unattractive thing in the world. I would rather date Meatloaf than date someone wearing Google Glass. It's just, like, there's just something that's inherently really creepy about looking at someone who's wearing one of those things because I feel like I'm staring at Tom Cruise in Minority Report and not even in, like, a hot brooding way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to be like, I don't want to be at dinner with somebody while someone's going to be constantly attached to their phone. Because it's like what somebody was saying about before, that intimacy is putting down technology and actually getting connect person to person. And with Google Glass, like, that inherently is not the Google Glass experience because that person is always connected. And it's just like, I feel like I can't connect with you if you have to be on your Facebook all the time.
But what about what if you were going to hate fuck someone who was doing Google Glass? How would you feel about that, Nico?
Well, if that person were Anderson Cooper, then yes, please. I don't know. I think I'm just like one of those creepy anti-technology people. Like, full disclosure, I have 0 hookup apps right now. I'm currently installed on my phone, mostly because they don't currently have an app that will help me find people to watch Orphan Black and cuddle with. So, even an app that's specifically for that, I would be the first person to sign up.
Why don't you
have to make that app? That's a really good point. I like that. We need an app for like people who will go out and like watch watch an episode of 30 Rock with me, eat cheese, and then cuddle for like
That's what Tinder wants
3
to
hours.
Like, Tinder has aspirations to be a like connecting tool for people for like various activities, but I don't know if it's ever gonna like transcend the dating scene. But I think in an interview last year, I don't know if it was like Justin Rad or the other Tinder guy, they were pretty serious about it. So it seems to be something. Tinder wants to be a snuggle buddy app as well as a hookup app. I
think you just made up the app name, Kate. Snuggle Bunny, Snuggle Buddy. Either one, they sound great.
See, Netflix. If Netflix made a dating app, they would rank it.
Oh, genius! That's genius.
Their recommendations algorithm's already really excellent. So if they just paired people together, oh my god.
Oh god.
Pro tip.
We'd never leave our apartments as like a human race. We would just be watching Netflix constantly in our pajamas.
Like seamless, so that they just deliver food nonstop. We're like this close to being the people from WALL-E is what we're describing, but we get to cuddle, which sounds lovely to me. But Nico, you did bring up a really good point that like, is using quantified sex self apps, would that make us less intimate because we're kind of like measuring and monitoring ourselves? I don't know. Does anybody think that would hurt our romantic sex lives or just make them better? It's a big question.
I personally think that. Go ahead, Kwame. Sorry.
Sure. I think the jury's out right now, but I mean, for my sex life, I like being disconnected completely. And there is like, when you're finished, you're just like, oh, I'm just going to check my phone. And I still find that a little rude, but it's just one of those things where it's like if you're checking your Fitbit or like, oh, how many, the analog for steps that you have for having sex, like how many did I do? That just kind of quantifies it it makes it a currency, which is kind of weird for me. But who knows? It might change.
Yeah, the thing I think that would be hard for me is that I would like judge myself and be like, God damn it, Molly, that was really bad. Like you did a really bad job at sex today. And I just know myself, like, you know those dumb quizzes that you take online and then you get, I'm not saying BuzzFeed quizzes, I mean like ones I used to do them from eHarmony when I was like high school, and I wasn't on eHarmony, but I would take all their quizzes, like, what kind of fruit are you? And like, what does your shampoo say about your spirit? Because I was obsessed with myself and thought it would be fun to know more. And it was really interesting, like, oh, good, stats about me. And I think I would use them and be like, oh, cool, stats about me. But the second that they weren't good, I would just be like, oh, I've got to be better at sex. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel.
I usually just blame the quiz. It's just like, that quiz is stupid.
Dumb quiz.
I just
totally an apple.
I just want the ability to be bad at sex. Like, if I want to be, like, have a really, like, lazy, boring fuck, or I'm totally not into it and really just want to go to sleep, but I'm just sort of like giving into the sex because like my partner wants it. Like, I don't want an app to judge me for that. Like, it's like my freedom as an American to be really fucking lazy, and no one will take that from me.
But the thing is, when you're in a relationship and the majority of the sex that you're having is exactly what you described, is like really fucking lazy. My boyfriend's in the next room and he's gonna like, this is not gonna reflect well on me. It's like really lazy, just like, you know, boring sex. I feel like an app like that would kind of make it, you know, spice it up a little bit, you know?
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point.
It's because you're just trying to like find different things to introduce to sort of, you know, introduce novelty, and I feel like that's kind of another form of novelty, like using an app like spreadsheets or Nipple.
Yeah, that's a good point. It can jolt you out of your norm, that's for sure. If you know, get some weird score or Nipple's a really good example because you like are prompted to do different things. Yeah, that's a really good point. So, but there are, like, as you get into novelties, EJ, there are some, like, novelty sex apps, like the Lick This app, which just seem like they're almost, like, I don't know, manipulating how we're like, ooh, it's sex app, and then you're just kind of like, but this serves absolutely no purpose. There's a lot of those. We're probably just going to see, like, a shit ton of apps out there that try and, like, use that sex hook, right? Like, it's just going to happen, and are they going to hurt any momentum that good sex apps have? We have no clue.
Wasn't that question for EJ?
Yeah, sorry, EJ. I did not.
Oh, it was a question for me. Oh, okay.
It was.
Do I think that apps like Lick This are gonna take off and like
or
we're
just
gonna
like will they hurt any, like, you know, they're kind of manipulative and they're just using the fact that they're like, we're about sex, so check us out. Are they gonna hurt any apps that could actually do good things to your sex life because we're just gonna become really like, this is all bullshit?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I think the majority of the ones that I get press releases for, and the majority of the ones that I read about, like Lick This, like there was another one called Happy Playtime, I think it was. That was like a female masturbation app, and it had like a little smiley face clitoris, and it was like very, very silly and playful, and it like, you know, showed you like Japanese anime character, basically, that was your vagina and how you can, like, simulate it. They're all basically novelties at this point. I don't think any of them are, like, totally meant to be used, you know, legitimately. So maybe, I don't know, I mean, maybe that is making the next wave of, like, actually useful sex apps look bad. I don't know.
Can I mention?
It's also, like, a lot of... Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention a couple of apps that we haven't talked about that I thought were kind of interesting. And one is Lulu. Have you guys used that? Which is the review site. Yeah, the review site.
I'm addicted to Lulu.
Yeah.
I look up all my exes. I want to know what people said about you.
Yeah, so if people don't know what Lulu is, it's a girls only or women only community where you can review people that you've dated on Facebook, and other females can see it. And everyone has to check out the Lulu profile for Saturday Night Live writer Michael Che, because he posted what his review was, and it was like brutal and hilarious, and he got a 6. And it so encompasses what Lulu is. And then the other one I was going to mention was Lula, which is a new app that allows you to show that you are STD free, and you have to verify it through, you know, your medical records. And I think that's kind of an interesting idea, and I'm curious to see if it'll take off, actually.
I think that's pretty genius. There was a story today, and I'm still like in the process of verifying whether it's true or not, that syphilis is on the rise and people are blaming hookup apps, which initially just sounds like so much bullshit. Like, I want to say it's bullshit. There have been too many things over the past, you know, since we've been having sex that would contribute to the rise of an STI. But I don't know. I think the idea of having some sort of digital verification that, you know, I don't have an STD is probably a good thing. Does anybody think that that's really, like, exploitative or anything else?
I think it's a good idea. I mean,
yeah. I don't know. I think
I just,
technology can, like,
for me, like I just got my physical and I was about 6 months behind in doing it. So the idea of taking the time to make the phone call to get the medical records uploaded, like I think it's honestly kind of a laziness thing once we're more technologically streamlined medically and it's very easy and it's synchronized the way their Facebook profile is. I think that'll be more appealing to people. There's also a new app called Pure, which is which is like you have to pay money for it, so it kind of has that affluence differential that Craigslist or Bang with Friends doesn't have, so that you know that people are willing to spend $10 if they want to have casual, meaningless sex. But it just kind of gives the coordinates. I haven't tried it. I just found out about it today, but I thought it was kind of an interesting idea because it is true. I've gone on Tinder before where I was interested, hadn't made time for dating in months and thought, I just kind of want to hook up with someone casually. But how do you communicate that when that's not what, it's necessarily primarily for? Because I think it's been mainstreamed so much. And I'm glad it's not for that because I also want to use it for long-term relationship dating. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
No, that's definitely interesting, and you make a good point. Like, if I get a doctor's appointment on time, that's amazing. That'll never happen. But when I get, and like, even if I know, you're like, I know I'm fine. I know I'm fine. When you get those results, you're just like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm not dying. It's how I feel every time. So I don't know, maybe there's like a want to shout it from the rooftop thing that Lula can kind of like hinge itself on. But Lulu, I think, is super interesting, and I really want to know what Nico and Kwame think about it, because I feel like an app that rated women this way would cause a shitstorm, to put it lightly. And like, I think Lulu is unfair. I think that's unfair for guys. Like, I know some really nice guys on there, and I know them well, and I look at their reviews, and I'm like, that seems a little extreme. I think you might have been mad when you wrote this. Or some terrible guys who people are like, oh, his eyes are so blue. Like, yeah, he's cute shit. So, I don't know. I think something like this for women would be really tough to get over some hurdles. So do you guys think it's fair?
Well,
Nico,
Lulu,
you go first.
I was just going to say, Lulu is, you have to opt in now.
You do now. That's a good point.
So the age of like writing whatever you want about people on Lulu is over, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective.
That's true. So I still think. Sorry, Kate. I was just gonna say I still think even with that. I still think even with that, if it was reversed for women, even with the you have to opt in to be reviewed, I still think people would freak out. So I don't know, Kwame, Nico?
Well, I was just going to ask, what do you mean by opt-in?
Like,
you wrote the story on that. I'll have you explain it.
Yeah. So originally, Lulu just pulled up everyone who had Facebook who was a guy. They were on there, but most people weren't ranked or weren't rated. Now, if you can't be on the website unless you say it's okay. So the people who are rated that don't want to be on the website don't have to be anymore, and like the default is that you're not on the website now. It used to be that you were.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I don't know. I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think Lulu is probably a really bad idea for both genders, but only because people tend to be really non-objective when they talk about their exes. Because think about it. Like, I feel like in order to rate someone on Lulu, say I'm rating my ex-boyfriend Drew, right? I think in order to rate him, he has to be able to rate me. So that way it's seen on sort of like a curved scale. Because I don't think you can talk about like how somebody was a shitty boyfriend unless they also get to like say how you were, because then you're only seeing one side of people's shitty relationships. Like, I just think that there's going to be inherent imbalances here. And as far as the question about how it specifically would affect women if one were to exist for men, I do feel like people would freak out, but only because there tends to be sort of a power imbalance that already exists anyway in society when it comes to women. So I think that people would look at that as being an inherent outlet for misogyny. And I can see like why that might make people really uncomfortable in a really gut check level. And sure, it might be unfair that one doesn't exist for men, but I also sort of like am unwilling to give that to straight men because I feel like that would make me feel really awkward.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, I'm coming from a place where I know that I'm on Lulu and I know that I have a good score because my girlfriend weighted it as such. And me, and I don't know if anyone
Good girlfriend.
anyway. But yeah, I do think that it is fundamentally unfair for both genders, especially given that we're talking about things like Tinder, and I think this is along the same vein. I think that is unfair necessarily, but I don't know that I'm willing to fight against it as far as we're kind of ensconced in patriarchy. So it doesn't necessarily hurt me that someone who doesn't know me thinks that I'm cute, or someone who does know me thinks that I'm a good guy, because it doesn't have the same weight as if I were to say, oh, this girl happens to look slutty, like, which I would never say, mind you, but it's just, you know, that would be a presence that way I would necessarily expect on something for a Lulu for guys.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say the rest of the internet is Lulu for guys, because I don't think I've gone to a website ever where someone's not like, this chick's so hot, or like, what a dumb bitch. So you make a really good point. Until this maybe evens the playing field, which sounds terrible, but I don't know. My gut says it's unfair. The rest of me is like, yeah, I don't know. The internet's really unfair toward women in pretty much every other way ever. So
Yeah,
I don't get too
I think Lulu for guys is called Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good point. We like make sure if we're gonna post something about like a woman doing something good, we're just like, I don't know, what Reddit subreddit should we post that to? Because I don't want to get hated on for the next like 24 hours. No, that's a really good point. Which actually kind of brings me to the next question I was going to start asking you guys, which is, can we have like a sex positive way to use social apps instead of like axing ourselves from using them in a sexual way at all? EJ did a really great profile and Q&A with Violet Blue, sex tech writer, this week. And she made a really good point that like you can't give people apps and be like, now don't do anything sexual with this. Like apps like Tinder or Snapchat or Facebook even, and be like, yeah, just use this for really practical purposes. Like that's not going to happen. So I don't know, is there a best practices guide we can have for using the social web in sexy ways without screwing ourselves over?
Personally, I think that conversation comes from having a sex-positive culture in the first place, because I think whatever apps we're using are always going to be an indication of our pre-existing culture. So if we're talking about fostering sex positivity at all, that starts offline. Because the thing is that you're always going to get, like, the internet or apps is going to be a representation of the fucked up behavior that people already exhibit. They're just going to have outlets to do that. They're going to be more honest about that fucked up behavior. So I think the sex positivity conversation first needs to be analog before it can be digital. So that's just my take.
I will give one best practice just from experience with Tinder, which is don't block someone out of some ephemeral rage or pride that you may want to reach out to another time, because on Tinder, if you block, it's forever. So that's my little word of advice. It's not like Facebook or the other ones. Tinder, if you block, it's
forever.
Yeah, it's forever and ever, which is probably for the best, because, you know.
Because you don't block somebody unless, like, holy shit, this person needs to get out of the way.
I mean, the thing is that, I just did it with someone who I was kind of annoyed with how they were acting, and then I was like, oh, I wonder how that guy's doing, like, months later. And I learned
you become like desensitized to blocking. It's just like, oh, just block him, it's fine. And then you do it on Tinder and you're like, no, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like Sleepless in Seattle for Tinder. Yeah.
I don't know, EJ, do you have any like parting words of advice for this kind of sex positive way to use apps? Because what I keep hearing over and over again is like, never ever take a sexy picture on Snapchat, and like never ever post anything sexual to anything ever, or send anyone anything. But in the Q&A, Violet, she made a really great point that like that's not really possible anymore. This is how we communicate with people. it would be like telling somebody like, don't, I don't know, at a certain point, is it going to become like, don't ever talk to someone in a sexy way because they might be recording you, and then, I don't know, what do you think?
I mean, I agree. I agree with Nico. I think, unfortunately, we live in a society that just is, you know, pretty uniformly sex negative. And in order for, you know, people to be able to express themselves sexually online, that has to change for that to be okay. And the problem is that in pretty much every avenue, every social media avenue that people try to express themselves sexually, they're blocked at every turn. I mean, you know, Instagram prohibits nudity, Facebook prohibits nudity, or, you know, sexually explicit content. Vine, which was really big among adult film stars and burgeoning, you know, amateur adult film stars, they just blocked porn, which was a huge thing. I mean, there's social media is not amenable, does not allow the expression of sexuality. So, you know, where are people going to go? What are people going to do? I don't know. I'm pretty.
Go, what about? Okay, so this is a really good segue to apps like Pornstagram and like. Is that going to happen? Is this going to become big? Is like the new way to find porn or to post sexy stuff going to be to like pay a fee and use the not safe for work version of Instagram or Vine or whatever?
I actually think that's a great idea, only because a lot of users are moving away, like especially young users, are moving away from Facebook and using things like Vine and Instagram instead. So, you know, to be safe and to protect them from seeing content they shouldn't be seeing, to have a niche social network that's meant for 18 plus, I think it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, do you think they'd catch on if people had to pay a fee to use porn? I mean, Pornstagram is a real thing, and you pay a fee, and it's all, you know, it's porn, but with really pretty, you know, rise filters, which sounds nice and kind of lovely. But, I mean, do you think people are going to pay for it, or they're just going to search, like, boobies on Statagram and see what comes up?
Isn't that Tumblr, though, already? Like, this sounds like Tumblr to me.
Yeah, Tumblr is so porno-friendly. It's,
Tumblr is less porno-friendly these days, especially since...
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
But they don't let you search for porn tags. They blocked that like a year ago, right?
Wow, yeah. You can
so they're
still
porno-friendly
find stuff.
despite
You have to
themselves.
go and turn your safe search off, I believe. But a lot of people who are just, if you just always use Tumblr to search for porn and you never really got into the whole settings or your profile or anything, and one day then they were gone. So yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot of sites. I mean, Instagram blocks things like ass. Like, they block a lot of words so that you can't, I think they block sexy. And like penis. So you can't search for that stuff. I know. Yeah, we have enough dick pics as it is. But, I mean, these social apps are doing their best to block this stuff. So should they, if people want to post it, elect to have somewhere else to put it? Does that make sense?
Totally.
I think they can just text it to all of us, and we'll be more than...
I'm going to give you my personal phone number, everybody, and please send us all of your dick pics. No.
That's actually...
All right, well, No, go ahead.
Can I just say one final best practice?
Please, please.
Which is don't let your boyfriend take a picture of you with a plane in your vagina.
That's smart, yeah.
The best advice of the week.
Yeah.
Unless you are going to be able to troll any sort of major airline with it, because then it just makes the rest of the internet so happy. But he should have blurred your face. That was me. That would have been the nice thing to do. Well, we're almost out of time. The only other thing I wanted to ask you guys about is like sexy, I swear, sexy new gadgets. There's like a bunch that you can control with your smartphone, like dildos you can control with your smartphone, and like there's things that you like people masks you can practice kissing on. Is this creepy, or is it gonna like really make sex awesome?
I think we live in an interesting time in terms of like design as far as sex toys are concerned. They're just we're beyond the whole, well, this looks like a penis, so sex toy. But like there are plenty of toys that like the Minna that just happens to look like a lemon, the Minna Limon, and it's a really well designed toy, and it's usable by couples, by singles, that sort of thing. And since the sex industry is losing money, actually, you're kind of forced to go into a space where you have to innovate to do new things, and it's fascinating how people are going in that direction.
what I worry about is actually that the sex toy market, this is my own personal thing, but is becoming like too upscale. Like, because you see sex toys, you see like gold-plated vibrators that cost as much as Ferraris. My first vibrator was like a shitty hunk of plastic from Times Square when I was like 16, and you know, that's kind of like how I think people's first or second or third sex toys should be. I mean, I'm not really comfortable with like, you know, that vibrators cost as much as Ferraris.
dildos or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that like is a step forward in terms of sex positivity, that they're being sold in like San Francisco boutiques next to, you know, sheep's wool sweaters. But I kind of like the idea of the Times Square hunk of plastic, you know, $10 sex toy.
Yeah, that's some veteran status.
I think it'll be interesting to look at what happens when everyone has a 3D printer in their homes and they're printing out not only their own semi-automatic handguns but their own dildos.
We're so close to that happening. I am sure somebody's already doing it right now as we speak.
Yeah, you combine a 3D printer with an Arduino and you have a sex android.
But yeah, that's true, which is a little bit terrifying, and I'm scared it will become autonomous and take over the human race. But we are out of time. I really appreciate you guys for coming and hanging out and talking about sex and tech. Thanks again. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, signing off, guys.
Thank you, Molly.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.